Good evening. I'll now call the Standing Committee meeting of Monday, March 3rd, 2025 to order. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewa of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, learn, and live. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, there are no declarations of interest at this time. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda? Trustee Pinello, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And now we're moving on to DDSB presentations, and I have Positive School Climates, Mental Health and Wellbeing, presented by Superintendent Michael Bowman.
Thanks very much. Good evening, everyone. Through you, Madam Chair. I have the honor of introducing our presenters for this evening. We have Stephanie Pellebor, our mental health leader, Mike Manier, System Lead for Positive School Climates, Soraya Rehi, Mental Health and Wellbeing Facilitator, Malaika Leacock, Facilitator for Positive School Climates, Charlene Cook, Mental Health and Wellbeing Facilitator, who is not presenting but has put together the slideshow for all of you to enjoy, as well as Dan Hogan, who is trying to join us online. He happens to be in Ottawa at a conference. He is the Substance Use Violence Prevention Coordinator for Positive School Climates. The team, as referenced in the report on page 1 to 23, merged together for this 2024-2025 school year, and we've worked collaboratively to develop a better understanding of how positive school climates and mental health and well-being intersect and truly speak to the everyday conditions we seek to bring to our classrooms, schools, communities, learning centers, and throughout our DDSB facilities. While I could sit here and list all of this things this amazing team does every day, I think the stories and presentations that they will share and the video evidence of the impact they have had will show you a small snippet of what the power of a team can do. I turn it over to them to share their thoughts.
Great, thank you for the introduction, Superintendent Bowman, and thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. We are thankful for the opportunity to share good news stories of the impactful work being done across our district by the Positive School Climates and Wellbeing teams. The work of these teams is integral to the success of our students and staff, because what schools do every day matters to students' mental health and well-being. Positive and inclusive school and classroom environment is an important lever for promoting positive mental health and well-being amongst students. This is achieved by creating the everyday conditions that foster a sense of belonging, where students know that they are valued, know that they are seen, know that they matter, and know that they can look forward to a safe, caring, and respectful environment where they can thrive. This is the key for mental health and well-being. At this time, I'd like to turn things over to our Positive School Climates Facilitator, Malaika Leacock.
In collaboration with the Wellbeing team, the Positive School Climates Department supports the work of educators throughout our system in building positive, safe, inclusive, and welcoming environments where students and staff can thrive. We know that when fostering the conditions for well-being and connected communities, we create spaces where meaningful learning can take place. At times, it is that meaningful learning that creates opportunities for connection and facilitates well-being. Like all staff, our department is dedicated to the actions that advance the interconnected goals of well-being, connected communities, and meaningful learning as outlined in our board's multi-year strategic plan. And I now will pass it to Soraya.
The work of the teams brings to life our commitment to the 3-year Mental Health and Wellbeing Action Plan. Tonight, in our video, you will hear stories of impact connected to supporting the district in establishing the everyday conditions that bolster the mental health and well-being of staff and students, while also striving to establish systems that provide identity-affirming and culturally relevant supports for all. The voices in our video highlight the tremendous work that has been done throughout the DDSB. Please enjoy.
We have a pivotal role in shaping the culture of our schools by establishing environments where students feel supported, connected, and empowered. We also know we have a role in fostering positive relationships and creating a caring and inclusive school environment where every student thrives and knows they belong.
The Positive School Climates Department works collaboratively with schools, students, staff, and parents to address critical areas such as bullying awareness and prevention, substance use prevention and harm reduction, character education, and restorative practices. These initiatives are not just about addressing issues, but fostering a supportive and inclusive environment. When schools focus on these areas, they enhance learning by creating safe spaces where students feel valued and respected. This, in turn, strengthens connections among the school community, promoting a sense of belonging. Ultimately, these efforts contribute significantly to the overall well-being of the students, ensuring they thrive academically, socially, and emotionally.
It's impossible to build memories or complex thoughts without an emotion. And as we support our children to learn, we also need to consider supporting our children's emotions.
The benefit of SEL for our fabulous students at Lakewoods Public School.
SEL helps me be more confident and more Sigma. SEL helps me be a better hockey player.
SEL helps me with more confidence and a better student.
SEL helps me pursue my other passions that I'm good at. SEL helps me motivate and control my emotions when I need it.
In partnership with the Durham District School Board, Wellbeing Lead, and the Wellbeing Facilitators, educators are invited to a community of practice to foster school and classroom environments that promote and bolster student mental health and well-being. During these community of practice sessions, educators learn the foundations of a mentally healthy classroom. Welcome, include, understand, promote, and partner. As students transition into a new school year, we wanted to ensure that all our secondary students experience school as safe, caring, and respectful, where they are surrounded by adults and resources that support their mental health and well-being. We created a well-being toolkit for every secondary student with that in mind.
There is no one right way to care for yourself.
Everyone is unique, and so are our self-care strategies. The strategies that work for you will be different from what works for your peers and friends, and that's okay.
We also understand that some days are hard, and not every hard day is yours to carry alone.
As a district, we work with our schools to create the everyday conditions for students to thrive. This extends to all students, including our students who, for various reasons and context, need an alternate setting outside of mainstream school. Welcome to SOAR and Return Ticket. SOAR, which stands for Supportive Opportunities to Achieve and Restore, is a unique 8 to 10 week program that provides individualized interventions to promote social, emotional, and academic success for intermediate students who would benefit from an alternate classroom setting. Return Ticket is a restorative alternative education program with a multidisciplinary team committed to providing a safe and supportive environment. Healthy relationships, academic programming, and individualized supports are utilized to assist students in developing positive decision-making skills. This program provides the framework and the links necessary to help students make a smooth transition to future opportunities.
Thank you. So every day we work together to create and sustain the conditions for a positive school climate that bolsters the well-being of students and staff. And we'd like to leave you with a tangible example. You should all have received an affirmation card. Now, the words on your card will be different from your colleague beside you, and these words are words on a page. They are not the solution to all the challenges that students face each and every day. But they are one initiative in a series of initiatives that create the conditions that tell people, tell our students, tell our staff that they matter. And if holding on to I am kind reminds me to be kind, then it does its job. If I am me and that's enough tells a student who struggles every day with their identity, then it does its job. If it says I am capable of amazing things and someone does something amazing, then it's done its job. So we thank you for the opportunity to share just a small piece of the amazing work that teams do to support students' mental health and well-being. So thank you. That ends our presentation, and we'd welcome any questions or comments.
Trustee Cunningham?
Thank you, and through you, Chair, I just want to thank you for all the work that you do. As someone who struggles with mental health myself, who has other mental health challenges in my family, I know how difficult it can be to focus on something when your brain is focused on something else. So thank you for making environments where it's possible to be able to focus and process and not feel like you have to shove your emotions in a closet to be able to do it. So thank you for everything you do.
Student Trustee Vijay Kumar.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I just want to say your presentation was really lovely, and the video really did shine light on mental health and well-being. I also want to say that the words of affirmation that you provided, it was really beautiful, and it definitely put a smile on my face. I was talking with some of the other trustees, and it was just a beautiful thought that you guys had, and I'm really excited to see how this carries out for the next few years and the years to come. Thank you so much.
Trustee Linton?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I echo the thoughts around the room, just a really good presentation. Mike in the community and he's doing some really great work. But I always wonder with these presentations, like the visuals are great, how do we communicate some of this work to parents? So we're looking at a holistic wraparound model, because I think there's things that are taught to the children that would be, supported if those same practices were being utilized in the home. And again, there's been lots of conversations around, the bullying and violence in schools, and not just the person who's committing the act, but the victims. And again, just wondering how we can be supportive by sharing some of this information with parents.
Thank you, Trustee Linton, for your question. It's an excellent question. We do a lot of work internally in the system to support our schools. One of the areas that we acknowledge we need to do a better job of is to make sure that we spread that across the community. It is something that we're looking at in terms of working with our communications department to do a better job of that. But your point is absolutely taken. There's wonderful work that is happening in this district, and I think anytime that we have that ability to pump that up, we absolutely should. So thank you.
Trustee Pinello?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I echo much of the gratitude around the table. Thank you so much for the work. And I have to say, I smiled when I saw the video of Maxwell's staff, because that was my high school, and I recognized so many faces and saw some of the really great online conversation from some students who were reacting to getting their wellness or their well-being kits. I sort of on the same wavelength as Trustee Linton, when I was looking at page 20 for us in our package, page 22, it's the Appendix D, the newsletter, and I was looking at the 6 pillars. I really appreciate the thinking critically and creatively, because I think we have so many conversations either around this table or in little pockets with parents and community members about How do you teach someone to think critically, think outside the box when education can sometimes seem very monotonous to some students, and like they don't have the space to be creative but also balance their well-being. And so I was really pleased to see that. I was going to ask a similar question, but more so has it ever been considered to maybe facilitate that social emotional learning a session for parents so that they can come and experience the incredible work that you're doing from a hands-on? And then my second question off of that was, are there community partners who you've identified that would be really, really great connections for families outside of, these sort of walls when needed and necessary, who have maybe wanted to join in on these sessions with you? I'd be really interested to hear that. Thank you.
Speak briefly to that. In May, we are actually bringing in a speaker, Dr. Jean Clinton, who will be speaking to families around those fundamental social emotional skills, looking at relationship and connection as key foundation for navigating life, the challenges, and how we do that to think critically. How I can speak specifically to social emotional learning, we're actually hosting or working in partnership with early years with our youngest parents in readiness for kindergarten, talking exactly about social emotional learning. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you and your youngest learners coming into school? So we are doing that. And during our parent event for Children's Mental Health Week, we're actually going to have a parent carousel resource fair carousel for parents, where we're bringing in community organizations that are parent serving, caregiver focused, so that families can have access to resources or become aware of resources in their community in service of them and their students.
Student Trustee Pupulasandran.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. This is very similar to what a lot of the other trustees were saying, but I just wanted to thank you for making your presentation and such an engaging video. The work that you do for school communities to make them more inclusive is just so amazing, and it makes such a large impact on students from elementary school to high schoolers, because sometimes elementary school mental health is overlooked sometimes, but it's great the work that you're doing with them as well. A positive school climate is truly a large factor in the success that students do and the success of students, and I just wanted to thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you.
Trustee Arsenault.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I thank you for your continued work to support our children with mental health and their well-being for all of our students in the DDSB. My sort of question is a little bit different. I just wanted to bring attention to a safety concern that I'm seeing more and more in Durham District, is human trafficking. And I want to know what we're doing to give awareness to our students, both in elementary and in high school, what that looks like, whether or not we're doing anything currently, and what that looks like.
Thank you, Trustee Arsenault, for that question and for your kind words. I know Mike, system lead, has the wider picture, but just thinking about what the previous trustee mentioned as well, in my role with students from kindergarten through to grade 12, we have conversations around advocacy and boundaries and healthy relationships, and recognizing what that means for yourself and sort of putting words to it and having that vocabulary there so that students are aware of what that looks like and can call these pieces out. So in tandem with some of the work that I know Mike is probably going to speak to with other community organizations, we have those conversations with students so that they are building those skills, and then we're going to equip to support and protect them in that area.
Thank you, Malika. And just to piggyback off that, so thank you for your question. It's an excellent question. There's some of the more formal pieces in terms of how we can present that awareness to students. I think what it starts with, and we go back to, again, establishing those everyday conditions of a school where everybody feels they belong and they feel like they have at least that one caring adult in the building. For the adults' perspective, because it is about the adults in the building, what can we do to support our students? And it really starts with getting to know our kids. It gets to get to know our kids so that we know what engages them, what keeps them thriving at school, what keeps them coming to school. The other part that's important about that is when we get to know our kids, we notice when something's a little bit off. And some of the early signs of what could be trafficking, it's not always trafficking, but is really when we notice something with our kids that is a little bit different. And then that's where, again, we present that caring adult where they can come to and talk to. That's critical because the more of that we do, we reduce those instances where we have students who may be in a more vulnerable position because they have that wraparound from family and they have that wraparound from the caring adults at school. That's how we do this proactively to create those conditions. In terms of helping kids understand some of the dangers around that, it starts really early through the health curriculum, and it really starts with a focus on relationships and what healthy relationships look like and what unhealthy relationships can look like as well. And that builds through the curriculum. Where we get a little bit more formal is with grades 7, 8, and 9, and we just are actually having this right now, is we work with Durham, Victim Services of Durham Region, and every year they put on a youth violence prevention and awareness symposium. And within that, all kinds of content topics such as consent, online safety, healthy relationships, and then human trafficking as well, and what that looks like, and what are some of the ways that you can protect yourself as students. I think the awareness piece is incredibly important. That also extends to parents as well. Victim Services puts on monthly sessions for parents, just to, again, draw awareness for them. So again, they can have those conversations with their sons and daughters. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there, but just to clarify, you said the symposium happens through all schools in Durham, of all elementary and high school? Oh.
So schools can choose to participate in that. It is an asynchronous program that has now been put on. It used to be that they did this, they brought everybody to one spot to have a conference. Now what happens is they work to put together a 3-day symposium. It really comes out to about an hour a day. And what it is, it basically gives the schools the flexibility to work that into their schedules, because sometimes when they try to do it at the same time, it didn't necessarily work for elementary and secondary. And of course, we have various schedules within the board. So they've created an asynchronous program that schools can access over a 2-week period, and again, can work with their teachers to present that through their classes. So this way, they're learning the content, but they're also learning the content in in partnership, and being guided by their classroom teachers as well. Thank you.
Trustee Miller.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I thank you for the presentation as well. I know that the work is ongoing, and as we have changing needs of our educators, there will be obviously adjustments or additions to the work that's done. I just had a clarification question. When you mentioned about the toolkit, I wanted to know if that toolkit was available for each of our schools. And then my second question was regarding how students engage in their learning process. Are they able to somewhat facilitate some of that learning through maybe having their own groups on some of the topics? Do they maybe create some of their own discussions based off material that they learn? So those are my questions.
Thank you for those questions. For the kits, every secondary student across the system received one of the kits. And the kits really were meant to support self-care strategies, as well as direct them to resources internal to DDSB for their mental health and well-being, so every secondary student. As it relates to the curriculum, maybe if my colleagues who are more education-based and curriculum knowledge can speak to that. I'll give you a couple of examples where it comes alive in the classroom. One is through, you saw in the video, a team of child and youth workers. They go into elementary and secondary settings and they have conversations with students around social emotional learning. So those 6 skills, stress management, healthy relationships, critical thinking, all the 6. And it's very dynamic, it's very engaging with the students who are using their own experiences to navigate the content of those conversations. It's formally in our curriculum. Our grade 7 and 8s are in the health and phys ed curriculum learning about what is mental health, what is mental illness. They're learning about stress and stress management and coping. And those conversations are really driven by the experiences that students bring into those spaces as they navigate the curriculum content. We're doing some work with Student Senate. The team here is doing some work with Student Senate on a student conference for our secondary students, and we're doing some work with our intermediate students. And all of those are opportunities for students to lead the conversations around the themes of well-being that matter most to them.
Trustee Morton?
I think she wanted to add something to that.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for the question, Trustee Miller. And just to add on to what Stephanie mentioned, when it comes to curriculum connections and mental health and well-being, those conversations are varied as it pertains to the age and stage of the student in question. As Stephanie highlighted, we do have modules in place in collaboration with the Ministry of Ontario, the mental health literacy modules that they've created last year and have continued to do so. Last year was within the realm of 7-8 health and phys ed curriculum. This year they have rolled out grade 10 careers curriculum in collaboration with School Mental Health Ontario for these discussions around mental health and well-being. And so when we talk about curriculum, we do have specific modules when it comes to these discussions. However, that isn't to say that that is only where it exists. When we talk about curriculum from the elementary level, there are curriculum connections throughout social emotional learning, within literacy. At the secondary level, we continue these conversations, and what our biggest goal is not so much as to note that this is a subject-specific topic. It is an everyday topic that is to be normalized and discussed within the sphere of classroom routine. And so I hope that answers your question.
Trustee Morton?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I just want to say thank you for the amazing work that you do in supporting our students, in supporting our staff. Mental health and well-being must be our focus because student achievement is not going to happen unless we have that mental wellness. I just want to throw an idea out there. You mentioned that Dan Hogan is away doing professional development. So maybe I could throw the idea to Superintendent Bowman to invite Dan Hogan to come and share the professional learning that he's doing this week. Because I think he would also bring us a very valuable message. Thank you.
Trustee Linton?
Sorry, that's 2 questions. So 2-part question. One was just to jump on the point of Trustee Pinello. As in terms of the community organizations, I'm just thinking that we're going into March break and there are community organizations that are going to take carriage of some of the young people. So just the ability for them to learn some of these strategies. So I think you talked about kind of a forum and symposium, but actually learning about this model and how it's used. So that's kind of one question to speak. Again, just the actual community partners. But then my second question is just looking at 6.0 around strategic links, and it talks about the positive school climates and wellbeing teams working in collaboration with psychological services. Just wondering if you can speak more to that around almost like trigger points. So if there was an incident that had significant impact on the school a year later, or at graduation where, you know, there may be a school body that's not graduating with a student that was supposed to be graduating, where your work may kick in terms of the mental health of students about to cross the stage with someone that they'd lost through, whether it was traffic accident, a violent incident. So how does the two interconnect?
I'll take that one. Thanks for the question. So the second part of your question about the collaboration with psych services and our social work, anytime there are incidents that impact a school or community, we would certainly gather together and collaborate and share information amongst our teams to support students, staff, and communities. That happens in a variety of spaces, many times throughout a school year. So anytime that those incidents do happen, we certainly do collaborate. The first part of the question in regards to community partnerships, that's something that Stephanie Pellebor has already spoken to, is that we are always looking for creating those connections. So happy to chat further with the team about how we do that. Thanks.
Seeing no further questions, I think that's it. Thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you. Moving on to information items, and we have the student trustee report.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. On February 4th, we successfully held the Student Trustee Election Candidate Forum virtually, with the invaluable support of our staff advisors, Superintendent Bliss and Diane Curry. We would also like to extend a special thank you to Ryan Adams for once again providing continuous monitoring and behind-the-scenes support for the election process. The forum gave secondary students across the district a unique opportunity to hear directly from their candidates on important topics that will directly impact their education. Voting took place from February 3rd to 7th, and all currently enrolled DDSB secondary students were eligible to cast their vote. The forum was broadcasted and is available for public viewing on DDSB Live. We are thrilled to announce the newly elected student trustees for the 2025-26 school year, Hansika J. Shetty, Maggie Rendor, and Harshman Singh. If you look to the gallery, you will see them here to observe how the standing committee meetings are run and how the board operates. They would be happy to introduce themselves to you later tonight and speak more about their goals and plans for the year. We're excited to begin mentoring them as they prepare for their upcoming roles and look forward to supporting their development throughout the year. As this is only our second year under the new student trustee election process, we welcome and encourage any feedback regarding the process, including comments, concerns, or suggestions for improvement for next year. Recent feedback has highlighted the desire to include representation from each area in the district for the 2026-27 school year, and we will work with our staff advisors to determine the next steps. Our goals remain to enhance voter turnout and ensure better representation across all regions. Feedback can be directly shared with Superintendent Bliss to help guide improvements for the future.
During our recent participation in the Ontario Student Trustees Association Education Action Conference, we had the opportunity to connect with many student trustees from across Ontario. Throughout the conference, we engaged with various advocacy interest groups to discuss important initiatives in our board related to mental health and well-being, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and school curriculum and community. In the Mental Health and Wellbeing Advocacy Interest Group, we had the chance to speak with School Mental Health Ontario about the initiatives, services, and resources that they've developed. We also discussed their work with students through student reference groups. One key ongoing initiative is the #HereNowOn program, which is open to students in grades 7 to 12 across any publicly funded school board. Additionally, the three of us were able to learn more about the Ontario Principals Council, OPC, through interactive discussions with OPC President Alison Osborne. We learned more about the structure of their organization, the work that their members do, and how student trustees play an important role in providing them with direct input about what problems students face across the province. Our time in Ottawa over the past weekend, well, not the past weekend, provided a wealth of opportunities to network with other student trustees and organizations, which really made a real difference across Ontario. Through the sessions with our public school board, advocacy interest groups, and various breakout discussions, we were able to learn, grow, and further develop as student trustees.
The Student Senate is committed to advocating for student well-being and creating meaningful initiatives that benefit all students. As part of our ongoing commitment to mental health awareness, we are proud to announce the second annual Mental Harmony Beyond the Stigma event happening on May 7th. This event is designed to reduce the stigma around mental health and provide students from all 18 secondary schools within DDSB an opportunity to engage, learn, and promote well-being in a supportive environment. Last year, the event was an overwhelming success, with students and faculty alike participating in workshops, activities, and discussions aimed at improving understanding of mental health. Building on that momentum, we're excited to present an enhanced experience for participants in 2025. With new workshops and a variety of activities, we aim to foster a great sense of community, empathy, and self-care. The event's primary focus is to provide an open and safe space for students to explore the importance of mental health, learn coping mechanisms, and connect with peers. Our goal is to normalize conversations around mental health, break down barriers, and ensure students feel supported by their school community. The Student Senate is dedicated to continually improving our Mental Harmony event. As we approach the date, we will provide more details on the workshops and activities. We look forward to another successful event and to creating a lasting impact on the mental health culture within the DDSB. We encourage all select students to attend, participate actively, and most importantly, take away the valuable lessons about self-care and mental well-being. Let's work together to break the stigma, support one another, and cultivate a mentally healthy community. Thank you.
Are there any questions from trustees? Trustee Cunningham?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. You mentioned a key ongoing initiative is the Here Now On program, and I wondered if you could explain what that is. Thank you.
So the Here Now On program is a space on, I think it was Instagram, where students can share different mental health experiences, and a place where they can speak about well-being needs. So it's just to more spread awareness, and any student who is, sorry, I have the website pulled up here, so I can also provide that to you after the meeting as well, if you would like, but it's basically so then they can share their mental health needs and talk about what schools around the board can, around Ontario can do.
Trustee Edwards?
Thank you. You also talked about improving basically at the Mental Health Harmony event, and you make the statement that you encourage all selected students. I'm just wondering how students are selected to attend.
Thank you for the question. So it changes a little bit from year to year because we don't always know how many students we're going to be able to actually bring to the conference. But for example, last year, I think it was 6 or 7 students from every secondary school within the DDSB. And typically the email with the info in it is sent out to admin, who then basically get to delegate who is chosen. And we do definitely highlight within the email that we want admin to reach out to teachers, especially if they have any students in mind that they think would make a good fit for the event, but also to reach out to students that they might not normally reach out to. And that's something we really promoted last year, and we had a really diverse and interesting turnout, which was really fantastic to see. And we really hope that continues this year as well, because it made for a really interesting conversation.
Trustee Martin?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Thank you to our student trustees for your report. I thoroughly enjoy reading them and hearing you. I also want to welcome our 3 new student trustees. Thank you for joining us this evening. Looking at your report and talking about the student trustee election process, I know I've brought this conversation to you in the past. It was changed 2 years ago. I think we need to reevaluate that because the student voice of rural Durham, Brock, Uxbridge, and Skewgog is not there for the following year. we need to have their voice. And I've had this conversation also with Superintendent Bliss, and I will continue to talk with her and with you. That needs to be reevaluated. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much for the comment, Trustee Morton. Just to respond to that and add a little bit of context and insight into what we as student trustees are doing to address that need, because we do understand that absolutely there is a need for Northern representation and equitable representation across all districts for that matter. We're looking into kind of finding a balance on how we can elect our student trustees and also appoint our student trustees, because the ministry mandates that we have 3 student trustees. However, we're also looking to incorporate an Indigenous student voice in the future. We've talked with the Indigenous community in Durham, and we've understood that that is something that they would like to have. So that's another important conversation we've been having. And in terms of finding a balance between having a Northern voice and Indigenous voice, and then also determining how we want to represent the rest of the DDSB as well, because that's obviously still very important. We've had conversations with student trustees from all across Ontario. Specifically, like when we go to these conferences, we learn about how they're, delegating and appointing their student trustees and their boards. So we're kind of looking into finding a solution for that in the future, and we're definitely absolutely working alongside Superintendent Bliss and our staff advisors to begin the process of actually editing the election system as it currently stands, so that hopefully for next year, we can have a better representation of all DDSB elementary and secondary students within our board. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And as for the upcoming year with the student trustees that we have, we're hoping that they work a lot harder to get the Northern voice, as we don't necessarily have a student trustee representing the Northern region. So we are hoping that they would reach out to students within the North a lot more and try their absolute hardest to make sure that they can incorporate their voices during the reports and any upcoming initiatives. Thank you.
Trustee Pinello?
Thank you, Chair. Through you, thank you to the student trustees for your report. And yes, a warm welcome to our incoming student trustees. And now that I get to officially meet you in your new capacities, just on the conversation about amending some of the election procedures and the great things that you're hearing from other student trustees and other boards, I'm wondering if there would be ability and appetite to run some simulations of some of these different voting methodologies and using different technology, because for trustees who maybe didn't get to watch the stream when you were doing the questions for the candidates, I thought that was wonderful, but I also know initially it was supposed to be in person. But if there are ways in which we can utilize the access to technology that we have so that those bits of information are accessible to students who have to vote and voting's easier for them, engagement is easier for them. I know for trustees, our requirements for virtual participation have shifted and changed pretty drastically, but looking at the ways in which we are ensuring that student trustees from the North are being accommodated, and even just trustees who are perhaps in the Pickering to Oshawa strip who don't have consistent access to transportation. I think when we think about barriers to participating in these roles, we have the opportunity to maybe run some simulations and see what makes sense given the knowledge you're passing on and the new trustees are stepping into. But yeah, I would really like to see that and hear more about that process and make it maybe more interactive with some of the schools in the board, and get that student feedback as well. So thank you.
Seeing no further questions, thank you very much. And trustees, I realize that I missed number 6, the recommended action, so I'm going to step back for a sec. And I'm looking for a motion to approve the standing committee minutes from February 3rd, 2025. Trustee Litton, all those in favor? That's carried. Okay, back to information items. And next up is the OPSPA update. And I'll turn over to Trustee Edwards.
Thank you. Trustees, directors that sit on the Ontario Public School Board Association met for a Board of Directors meeting in Toronto on Saturday, February 22nd, and Sunday, February 23rd. On the Saturday evening, the Director of Education of Civics gave a presentation on Politics initiative, in which students are able to cultivate knowledge, attitudes, and skills to participate constructively in political or difficult situations. So trustees actually did participate in a short little workshop that the Politics does provide, and we basically, by using their methods through the sessions they brought, we had better understanding of each other, also understood our own biases and so forth when we're making decisions and trying to have those difficult conversations. And it's not just only for political conversations, it's for other difficult conversations. So it was a really interesting workshop, and the Politics workshop is basically available basically at, the exercises are available at different grade levels as well. Just to make a note, since we were talking about student trustees and elections, that we do know that the recent election that, the Premier Doug Ford and basically then the Progressive Service won their third consecutive majority in the provincial government in the general election on February 27th. But coinciding with the 2025 provincial election, more than 240,000 elementary and high school students participated in Student Vote Ontario. If students, and it's interesting to say that if students had voted, the PC would have had a slim minority government with the NDP following with the official opposition party. So that was kind of interesting, and as far as what their results would have been, and our students are very much involved. That's quite a few students that were involved with the Student Voice of Ontario. We also talked about truth and reconciliation, and as the student trustees said, that they are looking at investigating as far as, the appointment of an Indigenous student trustee. The ITC, the Indigenous Trustee Council, did actually are working on and have provided some resources around basically creation of Indigenous trustees positions and Indigenous student trustees positions. So look for some of that coming forward. The rest of the report, I think, is a pretty self-explanatory. So I don't want to go through all of it. But I want to say that the OPSPO Awards has opened up for nominations for 2025. So with deadlines in either April or June, depending on the award. So if you know amazing trustee, teacher, educator, education worker, school administrator, student, or community member who deserves to be recognized, please look at the OPSPO Awards and OPSPO website, and the nominations are open right now to do that. I also wanted to mention that one of the things that I talked about previously was the Ontario Coalition for Children and Youth Mental Health had put out new resources by your side. I think I announced that's the last time. It is interesting to know that they did, they created these resources from a survey that was sent out in this past spring. And so it was from those feedback from that survey that they created these resources. Well, now they are now at the point where they, if you've looked at those resources and have used they're asking for feedback, so they have some focus groups happening in March virtually. So if you're interested in providing input on those resources, they are available as well. And then lastly, just to know that, the upcoming events, we do have our OPSPO Central East Regional Meeting, which is April 5th. The Education, Labor Relations, and Human Resources Symposium, May 1st and 2nd, which our Board of Director meeting will be after that. And then a reminder that Take Your MPP to School Week is May 20th to 23rd. And then the annual general meeting and workshops is June 12th to the 14th.
Thank you. Any questions from trustees? Seeing none, I will go to the next item, which is Ignite Durham Learning Foundation update, and trustee Arsenault.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I'm excited to say that the silent auction for Ignite has started. For anyone who has not got a chance to go on there and see some of the amazing things that are on there, there is over 850 items, so much for everyone to take a look at and bid on. We are 1,500 away from our, 15,000 away from our goal of 55,000, which the items on there, it'll be easy to get, but if you really want some of our great prizes, it's good to get in there now. We have Gen tickets, Jays tickets, Raptor tickets, spa experiences, sports equipment, gift cards, toys, home furnishings, more than there's so much more on there. Bidding does close on March 5th at 9 o'clock. So if you want to take a peek, see what's in there, see, bid on some cool items, that's available to you. Again, it ends on March 5th. Another exciting event that will be Ignite will have is the Ignite Open. That will take place in June. It is a golf tournament. I will have so much information and flyers for everybody as we get closer to the date. Again, that's June 10th, and that'll be at Royal Ashburn Golf. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for trustee Arsenault? Seeing none, brings us to the end of the agenda. So could I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting? Trustee Jacula, trustee Cunningham, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Good night.